I've gotten so many requests for a library tour, so let's get into it. Okay, it is currently raining outside. I've got hot tea, a warm blanket, and my dog is laying right beside me. So I think this is the perfect time to do library tour. Since I can't actually record myself talking and look at the books at the exact same time, I will show the books on their own little zoom in little, what do you call that? Aesthetically pleasing video. And then I will talk about each of them on my shelves. Okay, so the first shelf right down here, I have the Devil Knight series by Penelope Douglas. This series is a continuous series, so I highly recommend reading them in order. I know I've heard some people say that they read them out of order and it didn't bother them. I don't know how you guys did that. I can do interconnected standalones, not in order, but not this series. The very first book is Corrupt, then Hideaway, then Kill Switch. Then there is a novella called Conclave, and then there's Nightfall, and then the last novella is Fire Night. In my opinion, Corrupt and Hideaway, Corrupt is interesting. Michael Christ, probably my least favorite of all the Devil's Nightmen. Something about him. But the book was good. It was at least entertaining. Hideaway to me was slow. It was so slow. It was like it was ramping up. Like you got Damon Torrance's story mostly instead of Kai Mori's story, I feel like, in that book. But by the time you got to Kill Switch, that was my favorite book. I loved Damon's redemption story. I feel like you hate him most of the series, and then all of a sudden you get to his book and you're like, I get now why we love Damon Torrance. And then Will Grayson III is he's just a baby, like so precious little baby. So I think he had the biggest book of all of them. Probably had bigger things than I couldn't even make that joke, but loved his book too. And the novellas were fun. Love this train scene in Nightfall. My friend's reading it currently. I cannot wait for her to get to that scene. Okay, so my next little shelf right next to it is actually a combination of two. So we have Rena Kent, we have Reign of a King and Rise of a Queen by Rena Kent. It is, I don't know what she calls that duet now that I'm thinking about it, but highly recommend. That is Jonathan King's book and Aurora's book. So if you have read God of Malice or anyone by Rena Kent, I don't know if you read them or where you're at, but Jonathan King is Glendon, Landon, and Brandon's grandfather. And Aiden, not Aiden. What's his name? Aiden King? That's not right. There's something wrong with that. But anyway, that's his dad. So that's the King family. Like that's where they start with Jonathan King. But the series actually does not start with his book. So that's like, I don't know, book 7 and 8 possibly in the series. And then also on that shelf, I have the Made Men series by Danielle Laurie. So in my opinion, the Made Men series, 3 books, it's The Sweetest Oblivion, The Maddest Obsession, and then The Darkest Temptation. That series, interconnected standalones, got better as the series went on. My favorite is the last one. I think his name's Ronan, possibly. Loved him. Loved that book. Entertained all the way through. And everyone I say that to actually agrees with me. If you don't agree with me, that is fine. I will allow it. But it's rare that you find a series that, in my opinion, that gets better as it goes on. And the first book is really good. So for it to get better, it says something. Okay, so above that, I have the Royal Elite series by Rena Kent. This is actually where you're supposed to start the Rena Kent journey. It starts with Cruel King as book 0. Then it goes to Deviant King, Twisted Kingdom, and Deviant King, Steel Princess, Twisted Kingdom. That follows Elsa and Aiden. I keep saying Aiden, but that doesn't sound right to me, guys. I don't know. Whatever. We're going with it. The series, it's 7 books. It follows 5 different couples. The 3 books I just mentioned are the only ones that actually you have to read in order because it follows the same couple all the way through. Then it moves to, what is it? The Black Knight, then Vicious Prince, and then Ruthless Empire. I personally, for Rena Kent, started with the Legacy of God series. I found the Royal Elite series was slow for me to get into as when I started it. Because I was used to what the heck was going on in the Legacy of God series. But once I started to realize the plot twist that Rena Kent was setting up for in these series, I actually really enjoyed going through them. I think by the time I got to Ruthless Empire, which was the last one, and in my opinion, my favorite, the plot twist was so good. The plot in general was just so good. So there definitely some spice, but these are based off kids that are not kids, sorry, adults, but they're like seniors in high school. So very much like right there on the edge of like new adults. So it's more based off plot, in my opinion, than spice, and it's like dark plot. So very entertaining. Then on the shelf, I have the Legacy of God series. Is where I started my Rena Kent journey. I read God of Malice first, chapter 1. And I was like, whoa, that one I had to stop for a second and reevaluate where we were mentally. And I did a quick mental health check-in, and apparently I was like, we're good. We can move on forward. I laugh and joke because I have a friend from work that told me she loved the Made Men series by Daniel Laurie, and was like, I kind of want something like dark, like give me some vibes. And I was like, try God of Malice. And her and I were not like that close yet. And I realized after work that day what I had done, and she never brought it up again. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, until like 3 weeks later, she's like, Jeremy freaking Volkov is everything. And I was like, which is the third book in this series. And I'm like, oh my God, you're still reading. I thought I like may have scared you away. Her and I are best friends now. So just tell a friend about the book you love. You might become best friends, or you might lose someone. I don't know. But that series, interconnected standalone, is God of Malice, God of Pain, God of Wrath, God of Ruin, God of Fury, and then God of War. All of them are male, female, except for God of Fury, which is male, male. Probably one of my favorite male romances I have read. I have them all in the hardcover books. I should note that most of these books do come from Amazon, even my hardcovers. This series, though, was the hardest to get. I think maybe one of them I got off Amazon. Some of them I got from Barnes & Noble. Some I got from Books A Million. I have yet to find one spot that has all 6 books. So kind of give and take. God of War was actually my first arc I actually ever got. So I do have both of them on here. I have the God of War hardback, and then I have the paperback with my annotations. And so that was, I fangirled. Like when I found out I was on the ARC list and I screamed. I was like, oh my God. So anyway, okay. And then above that, then I have I have 2 shelves dedicated to the Lord series, by Chantal Tessier. I bought them all here. You'll see as paperbacks. I typically don't like non-discrete covers. I'm a discrete cover girly. No like offense to people that love their models on their books, love that for you, but I personally, I don't know, I don't want the model to like throw off how I envision the characters. But the Lauren series models, they do it well. I love the painted on face. I love the mask. It just adds so much. The center is crazy. That cover is amazing. And then I have Carnage as well. So I have read all the way through Carnage. I have not read Madness yet. It is 800 pages, and I am slightly nervous, but we'll deal with that later. And then next to it, I actually got the hardcovers. All of these came from Amazon. They are beautiful. They are stunning. They are so discreet. Chantel did an amazing job with these covers. I do not have Carnage yet as a hardback. I have Sabotage, though, which is kind of part of the Lord series. He is not a Lord. Colton, I think his name is. He actually works for Tyson Crawford, which is in The Sacrifice. He's the main character there. So I don't know if I actually ever said the books, but it's The Ritual, The Sinner, The Sacrifice are the 3 Lords series books. Interconnected standalones. This, I would say, I highly actually recommend reading those in order. Chantel likes to drop a lot of Easter eggs. Like, even though the storyline can technically be read on its own, every book is like building upon the next. And I've talked about this a lot with the After Dark book club that we have, that you almost need like a giant whiteboard to like remember, like take notes to remember who's what, where, and why, because all of a sudden 3 books later, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, where are they at? Like, why are they back? Like all these plot twists. So Chantel, if not, I'm not talking as if she's watching this. She would never watch it, but if she did, just know that you're a mastermind and we love you. Like, mad props to you keeping all those details in your head. Okay, so above that, I have my Edge of Darkness trilogy. So this is by Lee Rivers. This is a continuous series, so you do have to read them in order. I think it's Insatiable, Voracious, and Restitution, I think is the order that goes in. I was recommended this by a mutual I had on TikTok back in March, and she was saying, hey, if you really like Rena Cat, like, you really need to check out this trilogy. It's fantastic. And it is so hard, in my opinion. Just kidding. I'm a vibrator, so everything gets 5 stars. But this was 5 stars. Like, if I had to go back and say, holy cow, dark romance 5 stars, it would be this trilogy. It, in my opinion, had like every single trope / micro trope you would ask for in dark romance. So if you were looking to see what you like about dark romance, I highly recommend this trilogy just to kind of see what your vibes are. Like, and it's not just dark from spice. Like, I'm like dark romance. Yeah, sure. Like a dark spice, but there's dark themes. And so you get to kind of like explore all these different themes and like, I really like this about this book. I really didn't like this. And you can kind of carve that out, but highly recommend that trilogy. Okay. And then next on my shelf, I have a little bit of Jessie Hall. I have Hawk by Jessie Hall and That Sick Love. And I also have the Mindfuck series. I put those all together. Mindfuck series, 5-star read. I got the book that is all books 1 through 5 together because each book is really like 120 pages. If you're looking for like books to make your reading goal for the year, read these. You're going to devour them. Like, you'll get to knock off, say like you read 5 books. This one is a revenge story. This is like following the female rage, right? Which I love books like that show these dark underlying themes, especially ones that men and women like go through and a lot of times are not given the justice they deserve. I love seeing that in a book and seeing the female main character or male main character get the justice they deserve. And so this is one of those huge heavy hitters, I believe, in the book talk community that it deserves the hype that it gets. Jessie Hall, I loved Hawk. That was the first book I've read from her, 5-star read. It is very rare that I have a book boyfriend that I will accept zero criticism on because I understand like most of the book boyfriends I love, they can be criticized. That is fine. But not Hawk. I love that book so much. For That Sick Love, I listened to that one as an audiobook. And it was Joe Arden, and you know, you can't deny the man like can do an audiobook, but I struggled a little bit with that one because I've learned something about myself. I am not a degradation girly. I am praise with degradation, like together. But I want my ego inflated. If you come at me calling me a bitch, I am going to look at you and be like, who the heck do you think you're talking to? So like reading it, I have almost DNF'd books that have it heavily. And then hearing it as an audiobook every time I was like, Arrow, I'm going to start swinging. I was like, do not call her that. And then she'd be like, I love this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not going to yuck your yum, girl. Like, you get it. But for me, I was like, I can't do this. So I gave that a 4-star only because that's just personal preference. But if you're into that, please check that book out. Okay. And then above that, I have my H.G. Carlton shelf. I have everything except for Satan's Fair up there because that's just a little tiny novella. I guess I could have bought the hardback, but I didn't. But the novella would not have been able to fit up there. So I have Haunting and Hunting Adeline, Does It Hurt, and Shallow River. So Does It Hurt was actually my first dark romance ever. And right after Does It Hurt, I obviously fell in love. I was like, oh my gosh, like we are talking about some crazy stuff. Like watching, again, like I really want to emphasize, like we always joke in the community of like dark romance. It's like this crazy spice, but it's like, no, there's these dark themes. It's like little, like has you on edge. Like it's very entertaining. And so after Does It Hurt, I went right into Haunting and Hunting Adeline. And I know that book gets like so much backlash. But I devoured it. Like I remember starting it, I want to say at like 8 o'clock one night. I was done by 4 p.m. the next day and picked up Hunting Adeline because it ends on a cliffhanger. My biggest I tell everybody is maybe read these when you have some time off. Make sure you have both books like available or on KU. And I picked up Hunting Adeline right away and I read until 4 a.m. in the morning. And obviously like I take breaks and stuff like that, but I could not stop reading until I was done part 1. And I don't think I even slept that night once I tried to. I bawled my eyes out at Hunting Adeline. But there's just something about going through that, knowing there are so many men and women that go through like everything she went through. So I just had to read it to like, just like really like solidify that story to me. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but it just felt like if people are experiencing it, I can read it, you know? And so that book for multiple reasons just kind of like hit to me. And I don't know. I will never not support HD. Shallow River, another one with female rage, revenge story. Highly recommend checking that one out as well. If you like her and like her writing style, definitely darker themes there. On a more lighter note, I have Jennifer Hartman. I have a whole shelf for her. It's Still Beating, Lotus, and then The Stars Are on Our Side. I got recommended Still Beating. I made a video saying I really wanted to cry, and that got recommended to me, and I sure did cry. It's beautiful story, crazy story, a little dark. It is dark, and but so good. And then Lotus, to me. Now, this is the ultimate book boyfriend. No one can ever say anything bad about Oliver. Precious baby. Love that book. And then I think by the time I got to The Stars Are on Our Side, I was just kind of like done being sad. So I haven't like read any more Jennifer Hartman, but like highly recommend. Great author. Then I have Ravenhood series. So Flock, Exodus, and The Finish Line. Really like that series. I wish I went into it a little more blind. I feel like I kind of knew what was going to happen. I think Book Talk sometimes just pushes that a lot. And so like, it's hard to go into it blind, but if you've never heard anything about the Ravenhood series, don't look into it. Just go, just enjoy the ride. I have the Salacious Players Club also on that shelf. Highly recommend this if you're kind of new to spice and don't really know what your vibes are. Like I said, for the Edge of Darkness trilogy, just looking into what maybe dark themes you're looking for. I think that Salacious Players Club is great to kind of figure out where your like kinks are. I wish I would have read these earlier. They're light in the sense of like not dark themes, but they are running a club. So it's following 4 members of this club. So each book follows different like kinks on a list that you would kind of go through. It's like dom, sub, age gap is like the first book. And the next one is going to be like voyeur. I tried to say this earlier too, and I couldn't. Like voyeurism and, oh my gosh, not exhibitionism. So like you like watching or being watched. And then it's Give Me More is the next one. So I guess, sorry, I should have clarified. Praise was the first one. Eyes on Me on the second one. The third one is Give Me More, which is like bringing husband's best friend into the mix. So it's why choose. And then Mercy is the last one, which is dom sub again, but roles are switched. So she is the dom, older, and he is the sub and much younger. So kind of check that out. It's kind of fun. There's more too. There's Highest Bidder, I think, and Madam, but I have not read either of those yet. I have a shelf for Sierra Simone, but I have only listened to Priest on audiobook. Have not listened to the rest. I have a shelf for LJ Shen. So I have from her, I was actually gifted in a box her 4 books, Vicious, Ruckus, Salacious, Scandalous, and Bane. I have not read, I can't see it, but I have not read Scandalous or Bane yet. So that's why I'm kind of blanking on the titles. But I actually got the chance to work with LJ recently. And when authors reach out to work with me, they'll offer to send me a book. And I always say like, no, don't worry about like the packaging or anything like that. It's expensive to ship stuff. So, I always just read it on my Kindle. And this is my first time ever like hearing of LJ. So I was like, no, like I'll just read it on my Kindle, like no worries. And so I read the book and I came back fangirling after, and I was like, this is so embarrassing, but I absolutely love you and your writing style. This book was fantastic. Is there any way I can still get a signed copy of your book? I will pay for it, pay for shipping. And bless her heart, she sent me all 4 books, like completely free, all signed, all sprayed edges. So I don't know. I fangirl pretty hard for that. I also have My Dark Romeo by her that I actually got gifted as a like date with a book. I got gifted that, and Truly Madly Deeply. Nope. Truly Madly Deeply is LJ Shen. I did read that book, but I have not bought that book yet. What's the other one I got? Lovely Bad Things. I also got gifted that as a date with the book. So those are kind of my shelves on this side. Oh, and then over there, I have a little bit more Penelope Douglas as well. I have Credence. Love it. I have Punk 57, which is still in the world of the Devil's Night series. The guy in that book is actually the cousin of William Grayson III, which is the main character within Nightfall. And then I also have Birthday Girl by her. And then up there, I also have a book by Sophie Grace. She gifted me that book. I think now it's been 2 months. It's been a hot minute. I was planning on reading it in October. I have not gotten the chance to. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if I don't get it by October, I will read it by November. It looks really good. It's called Secrets. I really like the synopsis of the book. So we'll be reading that soon. And then I have a few little one-off books. I've actually got gifted recently by someone that follows me on TikTok, which was so sweet. He bought me some books by Lacey Chantel. So they're cowboy romances. So I will be reading those soon. I have Her Soul to Take over here. I have some random books on my coffee table. I've got Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Love that book. Another book boyfriend I will take zero criticism on is Noah Riley. That's a book I want to reread. Like I went into it blind, and like, I'm still not over it. Like, it was so good. I feel like it doesn't get the hype that it deserves. I don't know. That was such a good book. And I have Pucking Around over here by Emily Rath, which is I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, so it's kind of cool to see. She does a hockey team here in Jacksonville. It is Why Choose? Hockey players. Love that. And then over there on this side of the shelf is more like my rom-com, but at this point I have some other books all intermingled, but I have on the bottom, I have a Shatter Me series, which I actually have not read. I don't know if I'm going to read them. Not that like they sound bad. I heard good things, but I bought them because the box set was on sale when I purchased them in January when my shelves first came up, and they were bare. They were so empty, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to fill these up. Let me spend, I want to say I got like all 6 books for like $24. Like, it was crazy. So I was like, okay, I'll take that for sure. Above that, I have the Knock 'em Out series. That Things We Never Got Over. It was either that or It Happened One Summer was the very first spicy book I had read. When I started reading in August of 2022, I started with Colleen Hoover. So everything was like more fade to black. And then this was the first time I read a book that was not. And I was like life changed. So I read things, the series is the Knock 'em Out series, interconnected standalones. You can read them however you want, but I like to try to read things in order. So it's the Things We Never Got Over, Things We Hide from the Light, and Things We Left Behind is how that series works. The shelf above it, I have the Chestnut Springs series. Those, I actually read Heartless first, which is the second book because I didn't realize it was an interconnected standalone. It's flawless, heartless, powerless, reckless, hopeless, and then I also have Wild Love, but I have not read that one yet. Really love this book. I think between the Knock 'em Out series, the Chestnut Springs series, and the Twisted Love series, just the Twisted series, sorry, I always recommend like reading those books. Anna Wong to me is like an insta read author. I don't know. I started with her, Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Lies. And I think by the time I got to Twisted Lies, I was so in love with her writing. I Loved Christian Harper. Like, I will say this whole chest. Twisted Lies was my favorite out of that series. And then she continued on to the Kings of Sin series. And I have King of Wrath, King of Pride, and King of Greed. I have not read King of Sloth yet. Thought I would read it when it got released, but I actually just haven't gotten around to it. So I have most of those books on that shelf. I have a few other miscellaneous books. I work with an author named Nikki Ash. Really like working with her. Drunk on You and Hooked on You are the two books I've read from her so far. She actually has a huge collection, so definitely good to check out. Like, it's like, this one's billionaire romances, kind of fake dating, single dad, nanny. Like, those are like the themes that we're seeing. The Boyfriend Goal by Lauren Blakely. I need to get the romance line by her as well, because I just finished that one. These are more like hockey romances from Lauren. I can't see what's all over there. It looks like Den of Vipers is over there. Why Choose? This was my first Why Choose, Den of Vipers. What a wild ride. I know that if I reread that book, I'd probably be like, dang, there's a lot of plot holes here. But since it was my first Why Choose and I was so overstimulated by what was going on, I feel like I was just like, yep, nope, I don't ask me the color of anything, because I am so entertained. And so then I went down like a Why Choose romance like rabbit hole after that. But my next one I did was the Kings of Bolton series. I love that series so much. And it was my first Why Choose with male romance. And that's when I realized, like, my preference is Why Choose with male romance. That is chef's kiss to me. I have Bloodshed over there. That is a Why Choose male like interacted romance. It is Halloween themed. So if you are looking for a good rec this October, they are masked men. But you have to read it like the novella is Scream for Us, then the book is Bloodshed, and then there's another one for Christmas called Melt for Us. However, the second book in the series actually comes out October 15th. So it's called Bloodbath. It will be out next week. So I'll have to check that one out too. Okay, above that, I have the Kane Brothers series by Megan Quinn. Yeah, by Megan Quinn. Sorry, I almost wanted to say Megan Brady, but Megan Quinn. Another great series. Interconnected standalone. You got like billionaire romance in the first one, which was Not So Meet Cute. Then you have So Not Meant to Be, which is forbidden romance. Like, they work together. He falls first, trying to get her to like date him. And then A Long Time Coming is the last one that I read. And that is best friends that end up falling in love. And I'm not normally a friends to lovers trope. I'm normally enemies to lovers, but that was actually, I probably read that a year ago, and I still have some scenes from that book that I'm like, dang, the toy in the tub. All right, whatever. You got that. And then I've got a shelf for Kat Singleton. I've got I've read two of her books. I'm actually reading another book of her right now. It's flying by. I realized that I found a new trope that I love, or micro trope that I love, and it's single dads buying puppies. I was so happy when I read that scene. But it's White Ties and the two I have are Black Ties and White Lies, and then Bright Lights and Summer Nights are the two that I've read from her. There is a book in the middle that I didn't get a chance to read. And then I kind of have a bunch of books up there just stacked together. I have some repeat offenders. So I'm guilty of sometimes buying the book by the wrong publisher. I did that with things that we never got over. So I have two of those. I have two of King of Wrath, and I have two of Heartless by Elsie Silver. I have some odd books I read at the beginning. There's one called You're Not Her, which I don't think is even still being published anymore. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Icebreaker, but I never read Icebreaker. Butcher and Blackbird, obviously. Him. So this I listened to as an audiobook. It's a male romance, hockey romance, and it's Teddy Hamilton and Jason Morgan. That's a good one. You guys should check that one out. I have Glitch by Brianna Michaels. If you're looking for like short books, lots of spice, I would check out her Glitch, Flip, and Click. Those are like quick reads. The only thing with Flip, that was a soft DNF for me, because she was kind of super whiny for like the first half of the book, but then she ends up like her whininess stopped. So I came back to it. I had it happen one summer up there. Like I said, it was one of my like beginning spice books. I realized early on that I am not a fan of third person narration. I have DNF books for that. I did have to read one for book club. Gothicana, we read that one. The book was good. I actually rated it 5 stars. Book club was like, Jess, what are you talking about? There was so many like missing pieces. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I guess we never got answers on half of this. I was still entertained though. So you wrote a book. I don't know. But I typically stay clear of the third person narration. I have Her Soul to Take. Nope, that's not what I tried to say. No, There Are No Saints. And whatever the next one is, There Is No Devil, maybe, is the second one, by Sophie Lark. Those are dark. I mean, he's like, if I remember this, like a psycho artist that likes to unalive people. And he like, somebody like takes her into the woods and almost unalives her. And he was in the process of trying to unalive someone else. And she's on the ground, like can't move. And he just sees her and he's like, wow, that's the most beautiful human I've ever seen. So he just looks at her and then just steps over her, walks away. And I'm like, what the heck? So, needless to say, she survives, and then he becomes super infatuated with the fact that she survived. It's all flooding back to me that there's so much in those books. So anyway, long story short, those were very, very entertaining too. But yeah, I typically only buy my books if I'm like, I love like 4 or 5 star reads. But I need to buy more books. I haven't bought more books in a couple months at this point. Like I kind of do, like pick up 1 or 2 like here or there, but I haven't done a book haul in a long time. So I am waiting on, my special edition Rena Kent books. I did purchase the ones that were the limited edition foil covered, Legacy of God series. So I will have to find a perfect spot to put them on my shelves. It's ironic because they're dark romance, but they're so cutesy, so pretty. Oh, sorry. You guys are being moved by my puppy. So I don't know if I want to put them in the dark section and kind of throw off the aesthetic of it being black, or put them in the cutesy aesthetic section, even though they are dark. I think they're going to end up in the cutesy section. And that's just funny to me. So, but anyway, this was my library tour. I'm sorry I couldn't like move around with the books. I also am just too lazy to pull them down. So hopefully this worked for you. And I will see you guys soon.